Hello and good evening. Welcome everybody on this presentation tonight. My name is Claudia Eifert, and I'm going to host this call tonight together with the CEO of Utopian Global, Bill Wall, who is on the call as well with me at the moment. And we do have also the CEO of STOR coming on board, Ryan Messer, in a little while from now. Bill, are you there? It's great to have you on the call.
It's great to be here, Claudia. It's always great to be here with Utopian Global. Real assets really becoming a lifestyle, of course. So let's go. Welcome to everyone.
7.7 billion people are living on Earth. Global energy consumption has never been higher. Plastic garbage is filling our oceans, rivers and landfills. Abandoned open pit mines poison our environment and our children. We have no one to blame but ourselves. We must repair damage and reclaim finite resources. We must find new, sustainable energy sources. How? It starts with investing in resources that can power the world. STOR is a technology-driven energy investment platform taking a pragmatic approach to solving our energy and environmental crises. Our projects include Polystream plastics to fuel process, mining remediation and mineral recovery, fracking wastewater reclamation. Our investors benefit from stable income-producing assets, high growth opportunities, deep international industry experience, diversified project mix. Investing in STOR is an investment in a better future for the planet and for you. After all, doing good is easier when it's also financially rewarding.
I went straight into it. As you see, it was actually not meant to, but the video already started, so I hope you could actually see something of the video. So I guess you get the idea a little bit about what we are about. In fact, in the next probably 30 minutes, we're going to talk all about energy. We're going to talk about renewable energy. We're going to talk about plastic recycling, and therefore we will have Ryan Messer on the call. We're going to talk about midstream and well, how these plastics actually be able to be recycled, etc. So that's what we're going to talk in the next 20-30 minutes here, and then obviously how you can actually benefit, how you can make money, because I know everybody is on the call who wants to know, well, what can I do and how can I benefit, and obviously what's in for me. So we're gonna have this in the next few minutes, 20 to 30 minutes covered from now. And I do have, of course, also Bill talking about the precious metal side in the company. But in this next few slides, I'm just going to walk you a little bit through Utopian Global before we really get into deep detail in it. So it's great that you're all here, and I hope you can all hear me loud and clearly, because I just got a little bit of a warning sign that the connection is not so good. So I hope it's going to stay strong. And as you just saw, obviously, STOR is and Utopian Global, the platform, is really touching all those different aspects, or tangling all those different aspects, which is, of course, an imbalanced global financial system we are living in, a crippling wealth concentration. The richer, as we know, I mean, I think it's 25 families basically who own the world. They're getting richer and richer, yet, of course, the poor are getting poorer, and the middle class worldwide is really slowly but steady disappearing, in some countries quicker than we really want to. But we also see a rising government debt. We see a global plastic crisis, plastic everywhere. Governments like Australia sending plastics to China, China sending it back. The same happening obviously here as well in Europe. So this is a huge problem. We can't really turn anymore our television on or news on or reading a newspaper without hearing about all what is going on. I think there's a march going on in the UK now for, I saw things like everywhere. It's all about plastics, environment, etc., that we have to do something. And certainly this is where it's right on our alley here with Utopian Global through STOR, because it is important, because if you don't take care, well, who's going to take care, right? We also obviously see a declining global currency purchasing power, meaning, well, you earn, I have a lot of people here on the call from many different countries, which we all earn a different paper currency. And that currency obviously is declining, meaning you can buy less and less for your currency you're trading your time for. At the same time, we also have a huge rise in the population. So we are growing worldwide as a population, and therefore we need more resource consumption, meaning we need more energy. We need more energy sources. And some of those sources, of course, they have a limitation. So we need to constantly look for different sources. So what if you could actually counter grim financial realities and address the environmental damage and the energy crisis while also making money, while also boosting your income? That is what Utopian Global is about: real assets, real income, real lifestyle. A better way to counter today's financial pressures and environmental crisis: growing your income, securing your assets, and facing the future with confidence. A unique system to earn through investment in income producing energy assets. STORE, that's what Ryan Messer is going to talk about. It stands for Sustainable Technology and Resource Holdings, making your ownership of real assets, saving your or safeguard your wealth by savings in precious metals. Bill is going to talk about that, and marketing our products and boost your income. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the presentation, and how you can benefit from proven wealth strategies and business ownership with legal tax benefits. So STORE is the project we, of course, launched in late 2018, early 2019, when the white paper came out, and it's all about building value while doing good. It's a digital share, digital ownership, or ownership in a real assets, of course, which is oil and gas, which addresses the energy consumption realities, because we still very much need it. And also looking, of course, into global energy mineral asset ownership for you, so that you can have a stake of ownership in a real mine, gold, silver, etc., and help remediate environmental damage and build a bridge for a more sustainable future, and obviously generate returns for investors. So Bill Rowell, he's the CEO. He's the CEO of Utopian Global, the company leader. He is the visionary who actually in 2008 started this company with precious metals. So it's my pleasure to introduce Bill Rowell here on the call. And Bill, thank you for being here.
Well, it's great to be here, Claudia, and welcome to everyone joining us from many parts of the world. Yes, the world is changing, and in many areas there is a crisis, of course, but with each crisis comes an opportunity if you can position yourself correctly. Now, since 1986, I've been a business owner, self-employed entrepreneur, and as you correctly said, Claudia, I started this company back in 2008 primarily to be able to give people money of the kings, which was gold. We created gold and silver savings plans, made them available to people around the world. But also had been involved in the hotel industry owned 4 hotels in Australia over 20 years, sold the last one in 2004. And I invested into an energy fund, which I'll tell a bit of a story about that as we go through this presentation, because the whole point is that there's a network of people that have been involved with for the last 16 years, and that's what we're bringing to the table here with Utopian Global and STORE. So in 2003, after selling my last hotel, I went to Zurich, Switzerland, and there I met a banker called Philip Judge, good friend today, work with him, and he was a gold and silver banker. He introduced me to the world of gold and silver. I don't know whether these slides are changing. He introduced me to the world of gold and silver. And of course, coming from Melbourne, Australia, growing up in a dairy farm, one of 8 children, I was not brought up with the knowledge about money or even understanding gold and silver in that respect. But the banker told me, he said, throughout history, he said, rulers of empires, royalty, and the financial elite have always put part of their paper wealth. Part of the paper wealth. Now here I've got I've got shillings from Kenya, Uganda, Swiss francs, Australian dollars, euros, American dollars. In essence, it's just paper, different colored paper. Some of it's plastic, like in Australia, a polymer. And he said, you know, primarily the longer you hold on to paper wealth, the less it's going to buy. And he gave me a metaphor. He said, back in Roman times, 1 ounce of gold, which is 31.103 grams, like I've got here, pure gold, that would actually clothe a person, would buy a toga and a pair of leather sandals. And he said 100 years ago, now this was in 2003 at the Grant Thornton Accountant's office in downtown Zurich. He said 100 years ago, 1 ounce of gold would also buy you a 3-piece suit, shirt and tie, and leather shoes. And he said, also with $20 US at that time. $20 US, this bit of paper at that time would actually buy you 1 ounce of gold. Now his question was to me then, here we are in Zurich. Now this is 2003. What could you do at $20 today? I'm talking about 2003. I want you to think about what could you do at $20 US today. And I joked with him, I said, Philip, we just came from having coffee and cake in downtown Zurich, and that costs us pretty much $20 US. And in fact, in Zurich, that gives me 3 cappuccinos, no change. Yet the same ounce of gold, exchanged to any currency in the world, doesn't matter what color, what size it is, what country it is, exchanged to any currency in the world will still give you a fine 3-piece suit, shirt and tie, and leather shoes. This is a store of value. This is a store of value. This is really important. Where the longer you hold on to your paper, the less it buys. And that was a game changer for me. Complete game changer. Up until that point, I'd owned 4 hotels, generating lots of cash flow. And it was all about building wealth, but I didn't really understand about preservation. He said, throughout history, people have put probably 3 to 5% of their paper wealth into gold. So gold and silver is a small part of your asset holding, a small part. Okay. Now, so in 2008, I founded a company. After I got this information, I thought this should be available to all people. We're in the middle of a very strong bull market. Gold went up from 2003. It was around $300 an ounce, and went up to $1,900 an ounce in 2011. It's just an exchange rate. But primarily, the paper money loses value. Gold and silver preserves wealth. So here at Utopian Global, you have the ability to start saving in converting your paper wealth into gold and silver from as little as 25 euros. All gold is produced at the Arbor Horizon refinery. You can see it on this certificate here in Switzerland. It's certified to the highest purity, and it's stored at the London Bullion Market facility. We don't get to touch your gold. It's shipped directly from the refinery directly to your address or to the storage facility. It's also very easy to sell back. It's highly liquid because gold is an insurance policy, as is silver. If you like to be able to liquidate some in the near future, you just log into your Utopian Global account. You say, I want to sell so many ounces or grams of gold and silver. Within the next London bullion market's pricing, it's actually the sell price you actually get, and it's credited back to your account within 24 or 48 hours. At that same meeting in Switzerland with Philip Judge, the banker, he introduced me to the world of precious metals. He also introduced me to an energy fund. Now, I went there for the purpose because I just sold my last hotel, and I wanted to put some of this, the proceeds of the sale, I wanted to put some of this paper wealth to work, because I realized if you don't have paper wealth working for you, it's going backwards. He introduced me to a good friend and a business associate called Ryan Messer. And I found the energy fund very, very interesting. But before I invested a cent with this energy fund, I said to Philip Judge, the banker in Zurich, I said, I want to go and meet the team, and I want to see the assets. So I flew to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This is now in 2004. And I met Ryan Messer, who's the CEO of STORE. And I met the team. I met Jay Stewart, the geologist, and also Philip Judge was there, and some other members of the particular team. I went across the assets, and I thought, this is just a no-brainer. Here we are. We've got strong demand for energy, even stronger demand for energy today. These pumps work 24/7. When I'm sleeping, I'm making money. It's an asset I wanted to be engaged in. And that's why I engaged. In fact, at that time in 2004, I invested 1 million Australian dollars. At that time, it was about 860,000 US dollars. So it was a significant investment. So I can assure you, I did my due diligence, but by meeting the team, I knew I was walking in the door with true professionals, very passionate about their work. And I know Ryan's just joined us on the call, Cloud. I know he's on site. He doesn't have a lot of time, so maybe you want to bring him in for a short time.
Yes, actually, Ryan is actually here. So I'm not sure if he has connected his camera or not, but Ryan, you're on the call. Welcome to the call.
Thank you. Happy to be on. No, the camera does not work with the software on my phone for some reason. So I have to join via audio. How am I coming through?
You're coming good through good. Now everybody, of course, wants to see your face and you're hiding. No,
I wish I could. There's no option on this iPhone app for this webinar thing. This has been a problem before. I can't join with video for some reason.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
we prefer to have you on site, Ryan, than on camera, on site on the projects, which is really important.
Yep, absolutely. This has been a big push for us. As everyone knows, our plastics to fuel initiative, and we're going after this in a very commercial way because, of course, we've got a lot of history on the midstream side of the business, which is all around marketing and getting the product to market at the highest available margin. So this is what we do day in and day out with our private company, BlackRock, and of course, Randall Eddington, who some people have seen on the calls before.
Yes, and let's just back up. I mean, sorry, there was a cut over. You dropped out. I thought you'd stop speaking, Ryan. My apologies. Keep going.
It's probably dropping out. I can't see him here. So I was just changing the slides to, of course, jumping up to the Texas side where probably he is right now or at the midstream project. So Ryan, can you hear us? Ryan, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Good.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I lost you there.
Yes, we lost you too.
Let me back you up a little bit, Ryan. We lost you a little bit, so maybe I lead you through a couple of slides because I know you're on site and you might drop out again. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks again for making yourself available. I mean, we're on the Raccoon Bend asset in Texas right now, which we've all been there, of course. This was our acquisition, which we just settled on the 1st of August this year. Yep. So we're generating revenues from this site, which is really an exciting site. Maybe you just want to tell a little bit about this particular site and how long you've known about this one.
Guys, this is a world-class oil field. This oil field was founded in the early 1900s. It's been around for over 80 years. Exxon had it. Humble actually found the field, but Exxon had it for many, many years. The group I've been involved with for probably 12 years is bought it from them and has operated the property since then. I've been watching it for about 6 in particular. I wanted to buy it when I was the chief operating officer of our public company listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. But we couldn't get the sellers off center. And ironically enough, timing is everything in this business, right? So keeping in contact with Pete, he said, it looks like these guys are finally ready to sell. They're moving up in age and need to exit some investors. So I thought, man, this would be a perfect asset for Store. And why is that? Well, number one, obviously it's based on a natural resource that we all need, crude oil. And because the asset has been around a long time, there's a lot of history on it. And we know that it's going to produce economically for the next 25 to 30 years. There's still so much development upside in this field. It's almost 6,000 acres in size. It's just huge. And so if you think about it from a risk perspective, I wanted something very low risk, kicking off cash flow every single month. That way we weren't burning cash. That was the most frustrating thing as a public company and a startup, to raise money from people and then to, cover expenses and overheads out of capital raised, because it's very expensive money. In this way, we can leverage the asset and we can build on other assets, which I know we'll talk about here in a second. So that's the reason why we secured Raccoon Bend. And as everyone knows, we've already drilled a couple of wells and established some more production out there. I'll get an update out to the market in the next few days, as you know, a full operations update, because we've done a lot more than just drilled 2 wells. We put a lot of new wells online. But this week or early next week, we're going to be drilling another well. It's going to be a pretty big test. So we're very, very excited about that, and want to let the market know that, yeah, just because we've settled on an asset that's producing, it doesn't mean that our activity and our ability to enhance that has stopped. We're going to continue to enhance this asset. We're going to continue to grow its value for our token holders.
Yes, it's really an exciting project, Ryan. And of course, as a result of those first drillings, we saw the token price of Store, which is a digital asset, increase 20% in the last week, correct?
It is, yeah. We had to sort of adjust everything because of the net asset value of the company, not solely around Raccoon Bend, but also what we're doing on the plastics to fuel side. So I know we'll talk about that here shortly.
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, there you've got the third drilling. There's 2 more drillings to occur, I understand, between now and the end of this year. So there's another one happening at the end of next week. So we could see, if they're successful, these particular drillings, we could see the Store token, the Store asset price rise by up to maybe another 50% over these next months between now and Christmas, if these 2 drillings are successful as well.
Correct. And you know, tag that on top of what, you know, all the other things that we're doing are on the midstream side and plastics to fuel. I mean, we've made a lot of progress there too. So couple those 2 things together, and we could absolutely see a dramatic price increase between now and the end of the year, which will be huge for us.
Just on the risk management, of course, first of all, so just again for the people on this call for the very first time, Store purchased this asset on the 1st of interest in this asset on the 1st of August. We settled on it. The deal was done many, many months ago, but it's legal issues that took a while to settle. So it's settled on the 1st of August. So revenues now from this particular asset are going back into the expansion of these reserves, because these reserves are going to pay out for the next 20, 25 years, correct, Ryan? I mean, these first drillings that you've done, this has found reserves that's going to be there producing cash flow for long in the future. So this is why it's adding that increased value.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, we offset one of the wells that we drilled. We actually offset another well that had so much pay sand in it. It had so much oil behind pipe that there would be no way to systematically go through and produce all those probably for the next 50 to 60 years. So we drilled an acceleration well, so now we can go in and exploit those sands, you know, so we can see the revenue before we pass away. So some of these, yeah, and you know, because this field has 33 producing intervals, right? A lot of fields you look at in the U.S. This is why I love this asset. I've been involved, most of the fields I've been involved in, some of them have 2 or 3 different pay sands, and you get really lucky when you see that stacked interval environment up there. You know, it de-risks the asset, it gives you flexibility, longevity. This field has 33 producing intervals or more. So that means it produces from 33 different zones out of almost 100 wells. So in some wells, you may have 5 to 8 different intervals that you have to go back in and recomplete over time. Well, each one of those has a series of cash flow and its own revenue stream. And once you deplete that zone, you just go a little bit, you go up the hole and you recomplete another zone and produce it until that you deplete that cash flow. So that's why I love this field. It's just sort of it's the asset that just keeps on giving.
Well, we certainly like that. Let's just talk about, just quickly before we move on to the plastics to fuel, which is really that's really going to be one of the projects that really drives the digital asset price over the coming 12 months, 2 years in that respect. Just talk about the risk management of because obviously we're talking about oil and gas has a price on the market, and so the variable to the risk would be the price dropping. So what have you done as a professional in this industry, the CEO of Store, to protect us there, Ryan?
Yeah, really good question. We've covered this in the past. One of the main things that we do, it's kind of a complex series of strategies, but I'll make it really, really simple. You know, our number one commodity out here is oil. We do sell some natural gas. We sell a lot of natural gas in the warmer months because in the cooler months, we use the natural gas to heat the oil in various heater treaters, and we use it on site for motors and different things. So we do sell some natural gas, but 90-something% of the revenue comes from oil. So how do we protect ourselves from downside? Upside's always great. Yeah, the price of oil could go to $120 again. Highly unlikely at this point, but it could go up. But how do we protect ourselves from downside, right? Because if it gets into the $17 to $18 range, we're probably not going to make much money. But in the $50-something range, we do really well. So what we've done is worked with BP. We set up a hedging profile with them, and so we have a 3-month rolling hedge that we're constantly looking at. In fact, I've got to bind our hedge before the end of the month because we had a 3-month hedge in at $56. So we're sort of managing that on the daily basis. We use a company called Valor Analytics, a group of very intelligent individuals that look at this stuff and send us data and information daily as to how we can manage our risk and take advantage of market, things that happen in the market, like what happened in the Middle East here recently with that oil field. So we take advantage of things that, of course, benefit the shareholders because obviously we're shareholders as well. So we manage our downside in a big way by setting up hedges so that if it drops below a certain price, BP pays us. And of course, we take a little bit of risk at the current price level to where if it goes up a couple of dollars, maybe we owe BP a few bucks. But if it goes up past that, then we get all that upside. So it's just a way to manage your risk to protect your asset for your investors.
Yeah, this is one of the triggers that really got me in the game with you back in 2004. Just the experience of the team, but also how you actually protected the downside. We all want to have upside, but of course our markets do change and prices change as it has since 2004. So that's great news. Let's talk about right now the midstream operation in conjunction with Pyrolysis Plastics to Fuel Polystream. I mean, this is really, as Claudia said, the exciting trend right now. And I want to particularly touch on why the pyrolysis or plastics, the hydrocarbons that are extracted from plastics are actually cleaner than what you actually would normally take from, let's say, the Mother Earth.
Sure, yeah. And so there's a designation in Europe that actually makes the diesel that is created from pyrolyzing plastic. It puts it into the quote unquote biofuels category. Some people argue it's not a biofuel, but by definition in some jurisdictions it is. So I don't want to call it a biofuel, but take it what you will. The amount of carbon dioxide that's put out by some of these diesels is a lot less than diesel that's made from straight crude oil because of the way it breaks down the carbon chain in the pyrolyzing process. So I don't want to get into the chemistry or chemistry behind it, but that's essentially it. And so it's a great thing, right? Because a lot of different countries use diesel for electric power generation. And so that's why we're focused on Central and South America, where not only do we have a big plastics problem, but we also have an infrastructure issue, which we can solve by placing these plants in various locations. And we're not talking big plants. I mean, we're looking at plants that are in the 10 to 20 ton per day range. And you can get these things now, they're quite tight in terms of their footprint. So you can put these in pretty tight locations. You don't need a lot of space. And in places like the United States, where we've got a lot of infrastructure around hydrocarbons or the oil market, let's say, we can do a lot around getting that product to market and getting it to market at a higher margin than anyone else. In fact, I was just last week, I was in San Diego listening to a pitch of a group that is in the pyrolysis business. I'm working with them potentially on a partnership, and they're raising capital for sites, but they have zero market knowledge from an oil market perspective and are not tied in like we are on the midstream side. So we can bring a lot of value to the table for a group like this. They want to develop their own technology, their own pyrolysis technology, and the technology has been around for a long time. It's been around for decades, right? We figured out that we could you could take plastic and you could heat it up in a vessel, starve it of oxygen, and it will break down into various types of oil and other products as well. But people have been refining that, because again, it's all around efficiency. So how do you get the product in and how do you get the product out? Very consistent. So you know what the product is when it comes out the other end. You don't end up with something else that you have to figure out how to market. And that's our process. That's what Polystream is. And then of course we take and couple that, which is where a lot of people fall and fail, because anybody can go out and buy a pyrolysis plant and go stick it somewhere, pump some plastic into it and get an oil out. But how do you maximize the value? How do you maximize the returns? Well, we talk in our, you can read our CVs in our white paper on the website. Randall and myself have been involved in the midstream side. Him a lot longer than myself. I'm mostly upstream, but for several years now, I've run BlackRock Midstream with him, and we are in the blending business. So refineries want a very specific product, and we know that we can take pyrolyzed plastic, convert it to oil, and blend it with various types of crude to create a product that the refineries will pay us more money for. And to make it a very complex process very simple, that's what we do. And that is what Store is going to be doing with its pyrolysis plants.
Yeah, this is really exciting. For the people on the call for the very first time, I might just give a bit of a summary, Ryan, because I know it can get a little bit complex. So the midstream primarily is where you have crude oils and it comes out of the ground at different gravities or different. You have light crude and you have heavy crude and you buy it at discount, correct?
That's right.
And then, of course, you extract the hydrocarbons out of here, and you can blend it on these discounted crudes that you bought, because they're not at the industry standard, and therefore you can sell it to the market at maximum margin. But the industry standards, is that the process that you're already engaged in?
Yeah, that's right. So think about it this way. You've got oil wells. Let's think about the U.S., because that's predominantly where I spent most of my time drilling and exploring for oil and natural gas. If you look at all the oil wells, and there's tens of thousands of these oil wells producing all over the United States, they all make all different kinds of oil. Some have high paraffin, some are low gravity, high gravity. I mean, just tons of variation in the oil. But the refineries want a very specific product because what they're producing is very specific. So their refinery is set up to make one thing. So they don't want to have to change all the specs and inputs of their refining system. So they push back and they say, okay, the people who are taking all the oil from all of these oil wells, the midstream guys like us, the transportation and logistics people, I'm going to put it back on you guys to give us this very specific type of barrel. And so that's what we do. We take all the barrels, we take the specs, and we create the barrel that the refineries want and that will pay us the most money for. So just think of us as the transportation and logistics arm of the entire oil industry. And that's what we do. And so I don't know if, hey, do you want to put a couple of photos up? I'm trying to get some more photos of the site that I'm out here looking at. We're looking at acquiring a midstream asset that does blending centrifuge for our plastics to fuel site. Do you want to put up a couple of photos? I'm going to be taking some better ones, but just to kind of give you a sense, a very, very simple setup.
It's I don't think we have the ability to do that right now, but on the next call we can do that, Ryan. But maybe I'll get Claudia to just go back to the pricing graph just quickly before I know you've got to get back onto your meeting there. If you can just go back to the pricing graph, Claudia, because this is always a question that often comes up from the market. Okay, so we just said before we just acquired the Texas asset on the 1st of August, Raccoon Bend, and the store price was 40 cents. That's net of commissions and net of any fees, etc. We then increased it. Ryan and the team did a drilling. It's pushed it up 20%, so it's at 48 cents now, net of any commissions and fees. And he's doing a third drilling in the next week. And then he spoke about the plastic pyrolysis. So our intention is to list this on an exchange at the end of 2020, early 2021, at a price of €4. So that's a big haul from where we are right now. And people say, well, how can you do that? You know, you've done this before, Ryan, been the CEO of a public company. You've taken private companies public. And the answer to that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the way that you actually do that, first of all, you've got to establish the value of the asset to €4 by actually owning the assets, and secondly, having revenues to support it. Is that correct?
That's right. And again, you have to be able to affect change. I have to be able to add value. And what we're doing, the foundation and the work that we're doing now, is that anybody can go buy a producing asset and you pay $5 million for it. And if you don't enhance it, it's either worth $5 million or probably less than that, provided, all things are stable. But what we're doing by building out this technology, building out our IP and our processes, and these locations that we're going to be exploiting for plastics to fuel are going to add tremendous value to the company and increase the price. And then, of course, when we list, we'll get a multiple on our cash flow streams. So, and the direction that we're heading is probably away from crypto exchanges at the moment. We are a digital share, but we are also equity. So you own a share, a traditional share in a corporation that owns these assets. So this isn't some crypto hocus pocus token, but it gives us flexibility right now to own a digital share as well as traditional equity, because the direction that we're heading now is potentially doing a listing on the stock exchange. And I'm not going to say which one yet, but we're moving in that direction now for our 2020 listing and rolling up various assets around Plastics to Fuels, midstream, and our Raccoon Bend asset.
So that's great information. Thanks, Ryan. This is the key information, and of course the revenues that are coming out of the Texas assets since the 1st of August, of course, are going back in, as you correctly said, to do the drillings and to add asset value. Now, I just see Gladia's just put up some midstream. You probably can't see it, Ryan. She's just put up some tanks and different things, which I would assume is the midstream, correct?
Yeah, that's a location, that's a site that we're looking to acquire and working on that acquisition now. And again, that's just a few pictures. There's about 18 of those 500-barrel tanks that will bring in all various types and grades of crude. We could take very, very heavy barrels. We can heat them up, put them through the centrifuge, clean them up. So we'll be doing oil recycling as well. I don't want to get into that on this call because I probably already covered quite a bit. But that is also a big part of the business, which is going to add tremendous revenues for the company. And we're talking really, really good returns, institutional level returns, which is why we're ultimately going to be listed on the stock exchange as we're going after institutional money now. So I hope everyone can become a part of this and, see the vision of what we're doing by doing good for the environment, but building a highly profitable investment.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And I also want to congratulate you for getting store name out on a couple of information sites. That's also very, very important. The mineral reclamation and remediation in Peru and Ecuador are also massive projects. I know you've got to go, maybe without going too much detail on this one, Claudia, maybe you just want to go to the next slide where Ryan's in Ecuador, because I know he's running out of time. But primarily, maybe you just want to give 2-minute summary of what Ecuador is about, Ryan, since you're there with Philip Judge, the banker that I met in 2003, and of course Robin Slaughter, who's in your white paper, who is actually an engineer and worked on these sites.
Yep, absolutely. So I was just on a call with him yesterday talking about these various projects that we were looking at in Ecuador. The bottom line is this: most of the groups out there working don't have the knowledge and experience to go exploit what is literally laying on the ground. And we're talking about heap leaches and tailings piles that have accumulated over the decades, way before efficiencies of these mines, have increased. And the technology is out there to exploit the gold, silver, nickel, I mean, you name it, lead, zinc, that all exists in these tailing piles. So we can go back in and we can process with modern technology things that are literally sitting in these massive tailings piles. And you can see us in that middle picture standing on one there, and it's probably about 30 feet deep, going back to the 1970s of all these tailings. And in some cases, there's 9 to 10 grams per ton of gold, not including all the other minerals, just sitting there waiting to be reprocessed. And you can reprocess this at near 100% efficiency and then reclaim the land back to its original condition. So you can take the processed rock, disc it back into the earth and plant and grow things on it, versus the way it sits now, where it's kind of, it's an environmental issue, and it creates runoff and pollutes, tributaries and waterways, and thus, farming for a lot of these communities in the area. So that's another huge project that we're undertaking. But again, right now our near-term focus is on plastics and fuels and midstream.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being able to make the particular call. I'm going to, unless you've got to say something else or Claudia has any questions, I'm going to pass it back to her to show people how to get engaged, to own store and make money out of Utopian Global. Back over to you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. I just put out again the certificate because people wanted to see the share certificate there. So I just had this slide up before I go actually into the money. Maybe Bill, you want to touch on a second or so?
Well, maybe Ryan wants to, but this is a really important point. If Ryan's still there, the uniqueness of this, as Ryan said earlier on, most crypto things out there on the market don't have any asset whatsoever. In fact, 95% of tokens or so-called coins that you see out in the market have absolutely zero intrinsic value behind them or utility. And even if they did, legally, you don't have ownership over that. You may own a token, you may own a coin, but you actually don't own the underlying asset. So what Ryan Messer and his team have done at Store, they engaged, you see him in the white paper, Mike Miglio, a lawyer out of Houston, Texas. You drafted a document called the Private Placement Memorandum. So when you become involved with Utopian Global and to own Store, you actually acknowledge and sign this particular document. And this document gives you legal ownership over the holding, over your equity, your shares in one sense, in a US company called Source Rock Energy Partners. Now this is absolutely crucial. This is building generational wealth. You can leave it to future generations, and you have a legal binding document that declares your ownership in a US company which holds the assets. This is truly unique. In fact, I don't know of another company out there that's actually done that. We also have a certificate that in your back office of Utopian Global. It says here, as an example, it declares the name, the owning entity of these particular digital assets, the quantity, and also the US company that you have legal ownership in. So this is truly unique by Ryan Messer and the team at Store. Maybe Ryan wants to just comment on that.
No, it is truly unique. What we've done is quite different than 99% of all the other tokens out there. They did a really good job of separating the investor, you, from the investment, and that's a real shame. Because this is where the value is. This is, how can we have an asset that's going to produce for the next 30 years, but detach you from it? To me, that's just, it's horrible. So what we've done is taken a very traditional investment. We've modernized it. We've digitized it by using a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. And we're giving you the representation of that in that one, the certificate there that's issued by the Cayman Islands company, and of course gives you your ownership in the C corporation, that's the Texas C corporation called Source Rock Energy Partners. So it gives us all the flexibility in the world, whether we want to utilize the crypto exchanges if they become in favor and give us liquidity, allow people to sell, or the public exchange markets give us more value. And so that'll, obviously that's the direction that I'm heading now, but things change. So I love having the flexibility of both and, putting a modern spin on a very traditional but high growth business.
Yes, excellent, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Have a great day. All the
you
best.
too. All the best.
Thank you, Ryan. And let's move into the money side. Let's move into, okay, so how can you get actually now started? Well, as you see, there's two ways to get started. One, obviously, you become a customer with Utopian Global. You can purchase gold or silver. You can purchase Store. And from store, of course, you earn from the increase on the asset of the value store, and you're eventually going to earn the quarterly distributions from the store assets. As you heard Ryan speaking, since we acquired the asset, since the 1st of August, the revenues have been reinvested already for some drilling, and they were already successful. There's another one on the way this or next week to drill. So of course, once distributions are made, as you see here, once distributions are made past acquisition phase, so past the acquisition phase, they will be paid out these distributions. Right now, it's all about putting it back, all about, of course, reinvesting so that Ryan can achieve a higher return for you. And we all want, obviously, to have a higher return. The other way to get join or to join is as an affiliate. As an affiliate, it means you wish to actually promote, market our products and services. So you want to make income from it, and you want to make cash flow from it, and you want to not wait, you want to make it now. Okay, so I always ask people the question, well, but when do you want to make money? You want to make starting money next week or this week or today? Well, obviously today. So how can you do that? Well, you first of all get signed in, get your KYC, PPM compliant, purchase a package, commit to a €50 per month asset accumulation plan. You're accumulating assets month by month. And then as soon as you get your first customer or your first affiliate sales, well, you make cash. And the cash is being put into your back office, in your online back office. You can withdraw at any time after a 2 weeks refund period, either via Bitcoin or via your bank. So Utopian Global will actually send it to your bank. How can you earn from store? Again, the same deal here, from the increase in the capital growth or the quarterly distributions. So let's go and look at some of those packages. We do have the packages starting from €9,000 up to €1 million. Days called the quantum level packages. You basically get more store tokens. They are higher amounts of money, so you get more store tokens in these packages. 9,000 to 1 million. The great thing I always say is here, it doesn't matter which level you really start. In one sense, it's going to benefit all of us. So all of us going to be benefited because that money goes obviously into purchasing more assets. And when we all own more assets and we can drive the token price up or the share price up, well, then obviously there is more money for all of us in. The affiliate packages, they are, again, as I said, for those people who wish to promote their products and services, starting from as little as €99. And that's really the reason Bill did the €99 very, very cheap entry. Why? Because we have a lot of people from countries where, you know, they don't make that much money, they don't have so much to their disposal. And so to help these people as well to have an entry and to be able to stakeholders in real assets, that's why Bill actually put those prices from the 99, €170, which is of course, I'm in Germany here and Bill Switzerland, and of course that's not that much money here. So, but yes, we have them available because of that reason, because we have an international business all over the world. But obviously, if you have more to your disposal, I always would say, okay, well, get in more. Why? Well, because simply you're going to get and acquire more assets. And it's all about asset accumulation. That's what we are about. Of course, if you wish to become an affiliate member, you can have a great affiliate plan. So meaning as better you become in promoting and marketing our products and services, as more money you're going to actually make. So you see here, those different packages, they have different amounts of tokens. And you see the €50 monthly asset accumulation plan. You're also going to accumulate real assets, meaning you're getting real shares. €50, you're getting 41.66 shares. Let's go to the commissions you earn. So every time you introduce, if you're an affiliate, you introduce somebody who purchases a 9K, 18K or €1 million package. Well, you see here the commissions you make: 9K, 814, $1 million, you make 21,400 if somebody purchases this package. We have the lower packages here. So every time you introduce somebody who buys a 99 euro package, you actually make up to 40% commission, 37 euros. So the smaller packages are really targeted for the affiliate marketers, while of course the higher ones are more so targeted for the bigger investors. So these are the commissions you see here. So let's look at this example that you earn on the capital growth of store. So let's say, as Ryan said, if he does all the things which he is saying he does, and in 9 months, I always say, like a pregnancy, we have achieved that we could buy 12% of the Texas asset, which was available to purchase, which is a pretty big deal. And we are now, of course, focusing everything on the plastic to fuel, the polystyrene process. So, of course, if we add all those assets, if we purchase all of them, let's say you came in with a 1,500 euro package, you basically, we get the price to 4 euro, we list with 4 euro, you get 1,395.33 tokens at the moment, or shares. Well, you would actually make 5,581. So this 1,500, when listing at 4 euro, converts actually into 5,581. Pretty great. Of course, this is an estimate, so disclaimer here, that all of course depends on if we do actually list with that price. But you just heard some updates on Ryan, maybe even taking it instead of the crypto exchange to a traditional like the NASDAQ. And he's really aiming to get it as soon as possible. As you see here, earn on the capital growth of the store assets. You see again all the packages in a nutshell. So basically, obviously, as higher the package you enter, if we list with a 4 euro, obviously these are the percentages you would make. As higher, as more percentage, basically because you're going to get more tokens. But the great thing is Bill really developed this plan for the affiliate, for the people who want to share this message. And I believe everybody, why would you not share the message? I think everybody would share the message if they would know, well, they're gonna be stakeholder in a real asset, which is gonna pay them maybe 20, 25, maybe more years, as you saw on the Texas asset. Well, with the power of free, you find free people who want to make more money, who want to own real assets, who want to have a better lifestyle. You know, there's a lot of people who want that. A lot of people are not happy in their job. A lot of people who don't have a job. A lot of people who want to certainly have a better lifestyle and not worry about money. Well, if you buy a 1,500 pack, referred with free people, and they buy each 1,500 package, well, you make actually 1,500, meaning your initial investment is covered. You can do that with the 99 euro package, the 170, the 390, the 790 package. It's the same deal, up to the 1,500 package with free people. Introducing, you are actually cash flow positive, meaning, well, your asset is already paid for. So you're getting money back. Then we have obviously the different bonuses. So you see here, the fast start commission make you up to 40%. You can also make direct bonuses from each sale you do on the precious metal side, and of course on the store side for the customers. You can qualify for incentives, including luxury travel. You can earn from our uni level compensation plan, which pays up to 7 levels deep. From your customers and your affiliates, and you can earn a 2% gold leadership bonus on your team. So let me break this down. Let's say you were to look at 50 euro monthly. Each and everybody, your customers, your affiliates, they would buy and be on a 50 euro monthly asset accumulation plan. And again, it's not a must, but of course, why would you not be in accumulating assets? I mean, that's better than the paper money Bill showed you before to accumulate, right? So let's say, well, what you would do is you would introduce it to 5 people. Those 5 people, they buy their 50 euro. Well, you're making 14% from the 50 euro. So meaning you're making 5 times 14% from their 50 euro. That would assume to 35 euros you want to get, you're getting actually by having 5 people on an asset accumulation plan. But if days 5, do exactly what you did. Also introduce it to 5. Now in your second level, that's your second level, you're now 25 people, which you have on an asset accumulation plan. You're making still 14%. So now you're making 175 in your second level. So assume that up, 35 plus the 175 is 210, which you're making basically in your with the first and the second level. But now those 25 in your second level, introduce it to also 5 each. It's 125 people, and you get the picture. That is how it actually builds up. You have just introduced to 5 or introduced 5, but now we do understand that not everybody is going to do that. Maybe some introducing 2, maybe some 3, maybe some 10, maybe some none. But this is an estimate, and this is, of course, what exactly it would pay in our compensation plan. And then once you achieve a rank, which is a sort of a middle rank of in your career ladder, and this is called a gold, then you get a gold leadership bonus of an extra 2%, meaning your first, second, up to 7 level adds another 2% commissions to that, and then you have an unlimited commission from level 8 on of 2%. Really, really great. And all the people, customers and affiliates who are purchasing and who are on an asset accumulation plan. Now, how about getting your monthly asset accumulation plan paid for? How about, isn't that great? Well, with 8 customers in your first and in your second level, remember, you may just introduce it to 2, but those 2, they each introduced it to 3 people. So now you're 8 people, 8 customers or affiliate in your first or second level on a €50 monthly store asset accumulation plan. You're making 56 euros in commission. That means obviously your plan is paid for, and you can go out and take your partner for coffee or for a tea if you don't like coffee. And in the United States, the €50 monthly asset accumulation plans, they are basically replaced by physical silver, because we cannot as yet sell store in the United States, so they can purchase silver. Or basically it's replaced by silver. The incentives, as you see, we do have incentives for these people who wish to build a career with Utopian Global. We have smartwatch, smartphone, laptop, and a week exotic vacation or a week company leadership trip to the assets. And ready to join. Well, if you liked what you saw, if you liked what Ryan and Bill told you, well, then I obviously suggest you to go to the person or contact the person who invited you to this presentation and get ahead and get started, or ask for more detail on the compensation plan, and certainly read the white paper. I see you on the next presentation live from Italy, Milano, on Saturday. So if you want to join us live from Italy on next Saturday, this is 6 o'clock European time, 5 o'clock UK time, then, well, you're most welcome. Invite people, bring people on today's calls. We're going to be next week in the United States with Ryan Messer together, so there are going to be lots of lives coming up from there, maybe even on the side. And talk to the person who invited you, get the message out. We are here on a mission, as you see. Lots of things happening, lots of things gonna come out. It is very, very exciting. Thank you for being here. Thank you for actually coming to the call. Thank you, Bill, for being here as well and taking the time. Again, thanking Ryan for taking the time, and thank you all folks for being here. Let's spread the word and get and accumulate real assets through Utopian Global, make real income, and have a real lifestyle. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Claudia. Good night to everyone. Thank you.